Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second part of our episode of Draenora. As I said before in part 1, now we will be moving our view over onto the Wood Elven side of things. We will be taking a look at the life of Sterark and Cornelius. Over the past 3-month period. So, as we had left off with the both of you, after being recently assigned to Fort Triad, somewhere within the Ebonwood, life in the forts has been rather mundane, at least for the both of you. The repeating cycle of duties being passed around does little to keep your interest, though this is contrasted by your squadron's leader, Thamor, and his enthusiasm for leaving on patrols. His excitement to leave the walls of Fort Triad and be on the outside in nature, often being distracted by passing wildlife before being put back on alert by a quick whack from Miralee. Shadris often breaking off from the group to keep a perimeter and get a more advantageous position should anything happen, though usually on these patrols, nothing really does. The day comes around once again when the patrolling duties comes down to your squadron rather than the rest. The cycle has come all the way back around, and just as one of the members of the sort of management of how things go around here walks up to your portion of the large, long barracks hall of Fort Triad. A rather meek-looking individual, thin wood elf, walks up. Hello, excuse me?
Hello there?
So, it's that time where your squadron is to do patrolling out on the front lines?
Yeah, perfect.
And with that, you see Thamor, the look beams across his face. Yeah, alright, thank you. We'll be heading out as soon as possible. And he looks out to the rest of you. Miralee, as per usual, sort of bothered by the fact that she has to put down whatever book she currently has her nose in to begin preparing. Shadris already loading his quiver with the arrows that he's been wood morphing from one of these several branches.
Well, let's all get geared up. I'm itching to get outside for a while.
Well, me too. Can't wait to get out there and see the birds and the wildlife, and then you hear Miralee. And the potential enemies in the trees? Well,
Alright, those.
well, hopefully not those. Be on your guard. Still, Thamor.
It is the front lines. It would be, not very good if we were to be the ones that, got attacked.
Well,
Agreed.
it's not too common, really. So, I like to think of it as a time away from all this. We get to go out and see everything. It's so good. And he begins to pick up his large shield, sheathing his sword on his side. Shadris slings his bow over his shoulder. Miralee never really taking much with her. Everybody begins to get up, and Thamor looks out at the lot of you. Well, we got everything together then.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so let's go ahead and move out. So, as you begin to walk through these same halls that you've been walking through for the last few months. You exit out of the large open wall, basically, and begin to make your way towards one of the gates. And as you're approaching, some more calls out, "Squadron ready to leave for patrol." And one of the other wood elves barks back in acknowledgement, and both of them put their hands up, one towards the gate and then one towards the ground. And the huge wooden sort of cylindrical spikes that make this gate begin to rise upwards, just enough so that way you can make your way through. And as the five of you make your way underneath, you make your way outside of the walls of Fort Triad. And the gate lands with a very loud and heavy thud behind you, sending out clouds of dust and earth, just poof, 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 as it settles, merely kind of just swiping away at her robes, getting the dust off, and Shadris has already disappeared. And the more kind of points in a direction and then says, "Well, let's get a move on then. It's about a mile out until the front lines, so let's get on."
Alrighty.
All right, so one of you make a perception check with advantage.
Which one of us has higher perception?
It's not about that, it's about which one of you wants to do it.
I'll do it.
Go for it.
That's a 16.
All right, with advantage?
With advantage.
Okay, good to know. So you begin to make your way through, and almost immediately Thamor is lightly paying attention, but mostly just being mesmerized by the ginormous trees around you. And just at first, it seems that he's deliberately looking around for potential hidden threats, but as you know by this point, just looking for the wayward stray animal to take a look at. And
I'll call out to him. Just, Thamor, steal your gaze. Stay on alert.
almost not really even paying attention to you, merely kind of puts a hand up and then says a few words. Actually, you do understand these. So she says, would be like it's a would be arms, branch be hands, and this sort of branch juts out from one of the trees and smacks him upside the head, and then like goes back into the tree. Pay attention. Right. Sorry. And you keep on going, walking for about 20 or so minutes until I need another perception check.
I'll make it this time.
This time, yes, with advantage again.
A spicy 21.
All right. So, as you begin to look around, no real threats, but you do spy a few birds in some of the lower hanging branches of these trees. And you kind of look out at them. Very beautiful. Red crested with some nice blackish gray feathering. And as you continue making your way deeper into the thicker part of the woods, your Fort Triad begins to disappear further and further into the woodwork as you make your way deeper. You're still a good distance away, but because you rolled a 21, You actually spot Shadris leaping from branch to branch in some of the lower hanging branches of these trees. And his very stealthy and quiet movement as he leaps, almost like a monkey in the jungle, silently. Nothing is disturbed. And it's quite mesmerizing to watch. You make your way eventually to the point where the patrol begins. You have to do a sort of sweep near the open battlefield of which you saw when you had first entered the Ebonwood along the perimeter. I would like you to make one more perception check for me.
Advantage?
With advantage or?
Yes.
Oof, 2 12s.
So the total is?
It's just 12.
12. Okay. So you begin to do your sweep. There's a good distance between where the actual line is, and almost always there's never really anything going on. Every so often, as you're on your patrol, you'll see the stray animal begin rushing across into view. Thamor almost chasing after it a few times before being grabbed by the back of the armor by Mira Lee, stopping him from accidentally stepping on one of these pretty well obscured whitish runes, of which you know the general location of by this point after just familiarity, but almost every time without fail you'll see the occasional stray animal accidentally step on one and then disappear in a flash of light.
You know, we've been on these patrols for so long. You guys know where that stuff ends up?
Well, I've heard a few stories from some of the other Wood Elves. Some say that they get teleported into a completely different plane of existence full of fire and death. It's definitely something you don't want to step on. Other people say that you just go to some room and it's just dark forever and you never go anywhere else. All I know is that anybody who stepped on one never come back.
Kind of avert my gaze at that statement.
From what they say around here, the high elves don't take too kindly to prisoners. A lot of time, remember, this is just what I've heard in the past, so they just get their minds wiped by some evil magic and learn everything, and they just kill them. They're not useful anymore. Horrifying, don't you think?
Yeah. That's chilling to think of.
Why?
Just death upon death. But that's what a war is.
War is pretty bad. Like I said, when you all joined us about 3 months back now, it would seem, there used to be 2 people in your position, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So
That's how things go out here.
war is war.
I'll slap a hand on his shoulder, kind of pat his shield. But that's what we're here for, so we can all get back home.
I don't want to get up and get dice, so actually I should because it's a secret roll.
Making him roll secret things and get up for his dice. Shame.
One thing I didn't.
You've been caught.
Yep. All right. You hear a voice. Shadris's voice. And it sounds like it's coming from the wind almost. And all of you hear it. We have movement. 30 feet into the trees on their side.
Everyone on guard.
The Moore's almost remorseful exterior at sharing the information that he had, immediately he snaps out of it, pulls his shield in front of him, and unsheaths his sword, hiding it behind the shield, blade down, hilt in hand. Mirrorly begins to look around her surroundings, and you see greenish energy beginning to dance off of her fingertips. You unsheath your rapier and hold it at the ready. And short sword for you as well. Unsheathed and at the ready. Nervek.
Yes.
I would like you to make a perception check.
1 perception check coming right up.
As you've been walking along the lines, and you eventually make your way to the edge where the runic teleportation minefield essentially is at, you get to the sort of space between the border with you and your squadron. I would like you to make a perception check with advantage, since everybody's on alert.
Okay. I'll throw that again. The highest of the 2 rolls was a 14.
Alright. So, as you begin to make your way around, Cornelius and Sterark, I'd like you to make stealth checks.
Oh boy, my favorite.
That's a 12.
We don't have disadvantage anymore.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Just
That'd be
reroll.
14 then. Oh, okay. That'll be an 18.
That's a 13 for me.
Alright. And let me just make rolls really quick. Okay. 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 About 30 feet from you, on the other side, Nervek, you see a small group of people trying to obscure themselves between the trees. And you immediately get into battle mode. You can't quite see who they are from this distance, but you kind of use a couple of hand motions and get everybody on attention. Raldath is visibly nervous. Starts to shake a little bit as he begins to reach for his swords.
I'll grab him on the shoulder and just give him sort of like a blank face, just like a stare, like sort of like, pull it together, kid.
Immediately he snaps out of it and like looks at you and then nods, and he's not shaking anymore.
All right.
You're the leader. What do you do?
How far are they, did you say?
30 feet.
And how many of them do there appear to be?
3.
What do they look like?
They appear to be dressed in brown and green leathers that partially obscure them along the tree line and shrubbery. One of them appears to be carrying a large, heavy shield, and the other wielding bladed implements, but you can't quite make out what's going on or who they are. But you do see that they have their weapons drawn.
Okay. And I've been told if I encounter something such as this on patrol to engage, correct?
Correct.
All right, well, how do I want to do this? Just a second here. I gotta think a sec.
Your other 4 squadron members, including Ralda, look towards you in anticipation, waiting for you to make that split-second decision about what to do.
I'll sort of like throw my hand forward like a go get him, and then I guess we'll run up on him. If you know, whether the two with the bows would like to take shots, it's just like a engage sort of a hand motion is what I'm going for.
So, as is customary, the two spellbreakers begin to move forward with the blade dancers behind them, and then the spellflingers kind of take arcing positions on the back in this sort of V formation almost, and begin to make their way forward. Trying to be stealthy or just going in?
We're gonna haul.
All right, so you just go in. Along the edge, in the direction that Shadris had alerted you to, you see a group of 3 people beginning to... Well, actually, let's see. Yeah, a group of 3 people beginning to make their way across very quickly in your direction. They're dressed in silver and purplish colored armors and vestments, and you begin to look over at Thamor. His face just hardened, and he looks over to the back at the both of you, and then nods, and then pulls his sword out from behind his shield and holds fast, merely looking visibly terrified, is completely paralyzed by fear. I'd like everybody to roll initiative.
Yeah.
That's a 13.
Oh,
I'm trying to find my initiative button. It's been a hot minute. Help me out, friends. What am I looking for?
The right of
it
your
should
AC.
be above your hit points.
Thank you.
Numbers,
There we go.
numbers.
That is a 22.
16.
And then let me just roll for everybody else. Okay. Wow. That dice has not been kind to me. Alrighty then. So, Nervek, you're up first.
All right. After moving towards them, what's the distance?
You can close the distance. It's about 10 feet now.
And I see 3. Yeah.
Yes, you see 3.
Do any of them have shields?
Yes, one of them does have a shield.
Okay. I'm going to summon the Mace of Lyrikai.
So you put out your Spellbreaker shield in front of you with its bluish glistening gem in the center of it, and with an arcing motion as you're running forward, shadows begin to fly out from the sleeves and chinks in your armor, and you grab onto the shadows as they condense. And you have there the mace of condensed shadow as it begins to form more and more into its physical form.
I'm gonna, and then once I'm holding on to it, I'm gonna close that 10-foot gap and just take a swing at one of the ones that does not have a shield.
All right, so as you begin to rush towards, you actually have 2 targets. You have one that is holding a rapier and one that's holding a short sword. And in the blur of combat, you cannot quite see who they are or what they look like, as you're just so used to seeing elves. You just see the colors of the enemy, green and brown.
Use one with
wanna-
the short sword.
Want to call short sword even and rapier odd?
You have a short sword, right, Cornelius?
I have a long sword and a shield.
Long sword, yes, but you don't have the big shield. You have like a smaller shield.
Yes. Well, I have the
Okay.
shield that they gave me, so.
Yeah.
Well, if only one of doesn't have a shield, if the rapier is the only one without a shield, I'll hit the rapier.
All right, so you rush forward. Go ahead and take your attacks.
It's gonna take me a second to total, but I'll just throw both. Let's see. That's 9. Soft 20 and a 13.
Star Arc, AC.
Soft 20 hits.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and expend a spell slot on that one.
All right.
So here's the regular damage, 9, and then with the expending a spell slot, the damage comes to 34.
Or for a total of 44, right?
Yep.
So
And then that target's going to be knocked prone.
So you watch as in a blur of quick movement, this figure in purple and yellowish gilded silver armor rushes forward, and with a swift movement, coming swiftly behind a large shield, a black mace slams against your side. You try and deflect with your rapier, but using the shield to bash it out of the way, it connects with your right flank, and the immediate impact hurts from the bludgeoning, but then suddenly it's necrotic damage, right?
Let me check on that real quick.
You feel this. Can you give me the name of it?
The name of the
this spell.
It's more of like it's an Eldritch invocation.
Oh, okay.
But it's Eldritch Smite, if you want a name for it.
Yeah. So you feel this just condensed energy pulse through your body, and your whole body just recoils from the like magical impact. And the impact is then condensed once again into a solid burst that just knocks you off your feet. And then the shield user, after seeing you get hit, is going to use its reaction to shift over and then take an attack against you. That is a natural 1.
Okay.
So he swings and it goes wide and narrowly misses the top of one of his allies' heads. Starark, you're up next.
All right. I'll go ahead and get up.
As you're pulling yourself up off the ground, you look up and see your attacker. The rush of combat slowing for a moment, and you recognize the face. It's Nervek. And you have no idea what's going on.
Nervek? What the hell was that for?
You watch as this figure speaks to you, and you watch as he's pulling himself up, and you recognize him. It's Starark, but as he speaks and like calls out, it just sounds like the sound of branches being swayed in the wind.
I'm gonna look really confused, and then I'm just gonna raise my shield. I'm not really gonna try and mess with any of this trickery of the wood elves. That's what Nervek could be thinking it as. So he's just not gonna mess around. He's gonna be ready for whatever comes at him. Try to be.
What else are you gonna do, Starark?
A rush of thoughts are gonna hit my mind, and I'm just gonna.
He doesn't seem to.
Inspiration. Mira Lee.
Okay.
Let's see. In this life, to earn your place, you must fight. Mira Lee, fight!
And as you're calling out towards Mira Lee, you turn to see the direction in which his head is going, and you see another figure that was standing with that group of 3 who was so well obscured, she got a natural 20 on her stealth, that she looked almost as if she was one with the tree. And you see as she's bolstered by whatever words and whatever language this Starark-looking man is saying. And that is a D8, if I am not mistaken?
Yeah, it's a D8 now.
Okay.
And I guess I'll strike this Nervek-looking man.
All right. He looks exactly like Nervek, exactly how you remember him, just wearing different armor and wearing the colors of your enemy.
Gotta fight now. Can I still do my 2?
Yeah.
Cool.
By the way, Nervek, you have +2 AC with your shield.
Okay.
I didn't calculate that right because of the new stats. I forgot to do that.
Well, just give us the total.
17?
That's not gonna hit.
Your rapier glances off the first strike, glancing off of the shield, and almost knocking it to the side. But you gear yourself up ready for the second strike.
My bad, 18.
Not gonna hit.
It's not gonna hit, I don't think.
That'll hit. If
Okay.
if it is a 22, then that'll hit. Yeah.
It's higher, but
Okay.
it's 24.
You'll hit.
So after being deflected by the shield the first time, you use the momentum of the strike and sort of spin around the side and stab into an unguarded portion.
I'll go ahead and Thunder Strike it as well.
You can use your reaction to expend your spell breakers if you so desire.
I will go ahead and do that. I sense the
You watch
magical energy.
You watch as the magic begins to dance on the edge of the rapier's edge. But Sterark, as you're pulling forth the energy, you expend the use, but then it fizzles away.
Alright,
it's just
let
a
me
normal
hit for
strike.
Normal damage.
So make sure you use the spell slot, but it did get consumed.
It's 10 damage.
Okay.
Right. So then it is the Spellslinger's turns. You watch as from some unknown area between the trees as 4 arrows that look as if they're made out of some purplish light fly in the direction of both Miralee and Cornelius. Well, that's another natural one. I'm stopping to use I'm not using that dice anymore.
Cursed.
It is cursed.
The dice curse is real.
So the
Covered in
the first two are against Cornelius, and then the other 2 are against Miralee. So natural 1 on the first one, and then a 17 on the second one.
17 hits.
All right. I believe it is a strength save. Go ahead and make a strength save.
That's a 16.
Oh, you succeed against it. So as the first arrow flies wide and explodes against the tree, the second one slams into you, and you take it's a longbow. 7 points of force damage, and these magical purple thorned vines explode out of the impact point and begin to wrap around you quickly, but then you just expend your strength, swinging your arms out on either side and just break the bonds before they can tighten too much. All right, and then the 2 against Miralee. That is a natural 20 and a 21.
I don't know who this gal is, but she about to hurt.
That is 13 points of force damage on the crit, and 15 points of force damage on the other one. And then strength save for Miralee. Natural 20. So you watch as the 2 arrows fly through the air and land in their quarry. The first one slamming into her chest and piercing through, and then exploding with magical dust. And the second one, as it lands, shoots out the same vines, but you watch as the magic dances off of her fingertips, and then they just begin to fade away. She's looking all right. She doesn't look like she's hurting too bad. Alrighty. Up next is Shield Bearer on the Wood Elven side. So after getting right up next to you, Nervek, he's going to go ahead and bring down his sword 2 times on you.
Okay.
He pulls out an unforeseen short sword from behind the shield and just wails on you with it. That is a 22 to hit.
Yep.
And a 24 to hit.
Yep.
All right, so it's just a short sword, so 6 damage and 6 damage of slashing.
Okay.
And it cuts into you 2 times in the back, and then says something in a language you don't understand. And then with that, it is going to be Raldath's turn. And he's going to dash forward, not using the dash action, just run forward, closing the distance, and catch Thamor off guard. And he's going to make his 2 attacks. Okay, that is a 23 and a 24, and then action surge to do 2 more. 24 and then 12. And you watch as this figure, a rather smaller looking figure comparatively, unsheathes 2 swords from either side, and as he does so, you can see this sort of magic dancing off both of the blades as they're being unsheathed, almost coming off like sparks from their holster, and then with some rather elegant swift strikes, carves into the back of Thamor. I didn't expect these to hit him, to be quite honest. Okay, so just for those of you who want to keep track at home, that is 10 points of slashing, 11 points of slashing, 12 points of slashing, followed by the magical enchantment damage. That's another 6, another 7, and another 12. The more begins to explode with arcane bursts from behind. Glancing off of these strikes, you watch Cornelius as very large wounds begin to get exploded from the back of him, and it is now your turn.
I'll do a bonus action to cast. Well, no, I won't do that. We're going to attack. So there's someone that's on Thamor that's basically ripping him apart.
Yes.
I'm going to attack that figure.
Okay.
With a single attack, and then expend a bonus action as part of that attack.
To do what?
To, if I can find it, to use Commander's Strike.
Okay. You could read that out for the lovely people at home.
When you take the attack action on your turn, you can forego one of your attacks and use a bonus action to direct one of your companions to strike. When you do so, choose a friendly creature. I'm choosing Sterark, who can see or hear you and expend 1 superiority die. That creature can immediately use its reaction to make 1 weapon attack, including a superiority die to the attack's damage roll. And that's a 7 for you, Sterark.
Nice.
As for me, that is a 23.
23 hits.
For 11 slashing damage.
So you immediately rush to Thamor's aid, and you turn towards Sterark and tell him the plan, and you slash into his side as he's not quite paying attention, and you create a large gash in his left flank.
And then I am going to action surge.
Okay.
Beat him up.
And I will do 2 swings at the one I'm currently on.
Okay.
And I'll also use a bonus action on that.
You can only use one bonus action a turn.
Even with action surge?
Yeah, in this situation, I'm going to say you only get the one bonus action that you already did. Because you're going to use your bonus action to try and use another maneuver, right?
I am not.
Now, what are you going to use your bonus action for? Because I kind of got to rule in on it and see if it's a little too much.
The War Priest ability. Your god delivers bolts of inspiration to you while you're engaged in battle. When you use the attack action, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier.
Yeah, that's fine. So go ahead and make your 3. Call out totals.
$17, $22, and that one.
Okay, so the 22 hits, the 17 barely doesn't.
And the 22 is 7 slashing.
All right. So you once again carve into this individual. The first attack being blocked off as you've now gotten his attention. He brings a sword up to knock it away, and then the second one, you find a opening in his defense. And with this, you can actually see that this fighter isn't as experienced as you're used to. And just as righting the first mistake, when you slashed into his gut, for the third strike, he brings up his other sword and blocks it. And I believe Starark can use his reaction to attack.
So wait, I can do that right now?
Yes,
Yep,
that's what
reaction.
commanding strike is.
Oh, that is bomb. Okay, so I just rolled to attack then?
Which target did you designate?
The small man that was attacking Thimor.
Well, whoever.
Logistically, how would he hit him if I was in front of Starark with the other two on his side to the right or his left? Am I right?
It's all like a big square.
Okay.
He's within reach.
Well,
Okay.
Commander Strike is just you direct someone to attack, so they attack whoever. But
Oh, then
I was charging.
it's up to Starark. I just want to know if it designated a target.
I'm gonna aid out Thimor as well.
Okay.
Let's see if this fixed it.
didn't.
Wow, 13.
And doesn't he get
Does
the
it
bonus
add
from
the
the
7?
superiority die?
That's to damage.
Plus damage? Okay, so it's just 13.
13 does not hit. So, watching your sort of strike coming in brings down both of the swords and batters away your rapier. And Nervek, as you watch Raldath do this, you're actually somewhat proud of his ability to fend off both of these opponents. And it's at that moment when you're watching Raldath, you notice his other assailant, and you recognize him. It looks exactly like Cornelius.
The guy who spilled beer on me.
Right then. So then that's the end of your turn, Cornelius?
That's all I can do.
Right then, it's Miralee's turn. Miralee is going to go ahead and try and cast Entangling Roots on you, Nervek. So I need you to make a strength save.
Strength save coming right up.
Actually, no, you do not.
Never mind.
The other Spellbreaker is going to spellbreak that spell.
Neat.
So you watch as these roots begin to burst out of the ground, but as they do so, the other Spellbreaker that was with you kind of raises his shield up, and it gleams for a moment, and then the roots begin to wither and die.
Okay.
And then he calls out. The rest of you don't understand. I've got your back!
Okay.
Alright, and then Miralee is going to try and move back into the shadows, move back as far away as possible from everybody. Alright, up next is Shadris, and he has a sneak attack on you, Nervek, because you're flanked by his allies.
Way cool.
So here come the first two attacks.
Got it.
21.
Hits.
And natural 20.
Hits.
All right, so here comes the attacks. 10 points piercing. And 6 points piercing. Actually, that's 7 points piercing. And then sneak attack damage for, let me just make sure I get the amount right. Ooh, that's a lot of d6s. As arrows fly from a nearby tree, they land squarely in 2 exposed spots, revealing this tabaxi in the trees, holding a bow. Alright, and the damage on that is going to be 21.
Okay. So we're looking at a total of 38?
Yes.
Okay.
How are you looking visibly?
I'm looking pretty beat up. I'm not looking like I'm gonna quit anytime soon, but there's a good amount of blood. I'm in great pain, but I'm not looking like I'm gonna quit anytime soon.
So as the 2 arrows fly in, the Spellbreaker immediately rushes towards Merely and takes 2 strikes with his short sword. That hits. That misses. Okay. Another 7 points damage. Merely isn't looking too great anymore. And with that, we go back to the top of the round with Nervek.
So there's arrows in me, yeah?
Yeah, 2 arrows.
As flavor, I'm gonna grab one and snap it, and then I'm gonna start doing stuff with my hands and say, "Foul demon of the abyss, I call you forth and bid you kill." Expending a spell slot to cast Summon Greater Demon.
And it begins to fizzle out.
Wah, wah, wah. Okay.
The trees around you sort of begin to glow with this gleaming sheen, and your magic of calling upon the abyss begins to fade away.
Okay.
Expending the spell slot, unfortunately.
Well, then I'll go ahead and try and whack Sterak.
All right.
The person who looks like Sterak. Nat 1. And a nat 20.
Okay.
So lopsided.
Wow. Okay. I'll roll for the nat 20.
Lots of nat 20s in this fight. Lots of nat 1s.
So nat 20 is just whatever I roll times 2, correct?
Without, it's the dice
it's
times 2 and then
right.
modifiers.
Okay. So in total, you're looking at 19 points of bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
You know what? I'll go ahead. Nah, I don't need to action search. It's okay. That'll be it.
Right. So Thamor is looking pretty beat up. Sterak, it's your turn. What do you do?
Let's see. Okay. First things first. I'm going to. You see, this is a very sticky situation I'm in here. 2 of my friends are very hurt. I'm gonna go ahead and use Healing Word on... Who's looking more beat up? Merely or Thamor?
Thamor. He's hurting bad.
How close am I to him?
He's right next to you.
Okay, I'm gonna lay on hands him.
For how much?
Pump out all 25.
All right. So that does go a good ways. He's looking about medium well right now.
Medium rare. Then I'm gonna look at my opponent once more and strike him twice.
I believe it is an action to use lay on hands.
It probably is. Let me... Yes, it is.
So you cannot attack. But if you have Healing Word, you can use your bonus action to heal again.
I do have Healing Word. I'll go ahead and do it. And I'll use a 3rd level spell slot to heal merely.
Okay, go ahead and roll it.
Just making sure I don't get this wrong. 1d4.
That's going to be 3d4.
Plus spellcast. Yeah.
You only add your spellcasting modifier once. So throw 3d4 and then add spellcasting mod.
For a spicy 13.
It doesn't do a lot, but it helped. She's still looking kind of beat up. And it's at that point that Thamor calls out, "We can't do this! We need to get away! They're too strong!" And just as he says that, it is going to be Reldath's turn. The small man with 2 swords looks down at both of them and then presses them both against his chest, and you watch as his eyes kind of go wide for a moment, and he seems faster. You know this, Nurvek. All of the spell swords have the ability to cast haste on themselves with their swords. It's the one stored spell in them. Alright, so here comes 2 attacks on Thamor with their enchantments on them. So, first one, does not hit. Second one, does hit. Not a natural 20, but good. So, damage. Okay. Okay. So, you watch as Thamor turns around to face his attacker and bats away the first strike with the shield, but the second one finds its way inside and stabs into his stomach. And actually, he can attack once again with his bonus action because of his dual wielding. Sorry.
He welds 2 things at once.
That's gonna hit. So. Ooh. And the second one, you watch as the first one goes straight into his stomach, and he kind of, and a bit of blood comes out of the mouth. And then, as he's sort of in that stunned state, he brings his other sword in and stabs right into the same spot, and then pulls them both off and kicks Thamor to the ground. Thamor is unconscious. Reldath then looks up to you, Nurvik. I got him!
I'm gonna shoot him a hard glance, like, not the time.
And both Cornelius and Sterark, you watch as Thamor falls to the ground, beginning to bleed out, and the enthusiastic face of the younger dual sword user. And with that, it is Sterark's turn. Because it's not Sterark's turn. I'm sorry. Other people's turns. It's going to be the 2 arrows flying out once again. Attacks against Sterark and Cornelius. They're the targets. So first one's against Sterark. A 21 and a 14. 21 hits, yes?
Oh, yes. 21 hits, 14 doesn't.
Okay. So you take 10 points piercing. And they're not going to use any magical arrow stuff. And then Cornelius, that's going to be an 11 and a 13.
They both miss.
So both of you watch as Thamor hits the ground. You see the arrows coming towards you, Cornelius, but you're not even paying attention to them. You kind of just slightly move your head and they fly past as you keep your gaze on Thamor. Sterark, one arrow flies towards you, but you just absent-mindedly bring up your sword and your rapier and bat it to the side, and then the other one hits you in the shoulder, but you don't think too much about it. All right, up next is going to be Mira Lee. Mira Lee watches Thamor hit the ground, and you hear her go, "No!" and begins to cast Earthquake.
Oh dear.
Oh boy.
Watching Thamor hit the ground has blinded Mira Lee's judgment.
Oh boy.
She's got +8 to it, or plus a D8 if she needs to use it.
Oh no.
Oh lord.
This is how we all die.
Oh yeah.
This
Legs
is
forced, anyway.
this is going to knock Mira Lee unconscious. It's a lesser version of Earthquake. It's not the 8th level spell. It's toned.
Tremor.
It's toned
I had
down.
just pulled it up and I was like, dear God.
No, it's a lesser version. I need everybody to make dex saves.
Okay.
Shadris is fine. The two spellflingers are fine. Raldath and Spellbreaker need to make them.
I am not fine.
I got an 8. I'm gonna go ahead and use Dark One's own luck on that.
Okay.
I'll read the word.
I got a
that
27.
Okay. Both of the high elves are fine.
Let me scroll to Dark One's own luck.
Actually, no. I read that wrong. That's not a 19. That's a 12. So the Spellbreaker is affected by this. But Raldath is fine.
Can I use my dex save to like dash towards Thamor and try and grab him?
Yeah. Oh, you threw a 27, so yeah. What's the reroll on that, Nervek?
Basically, I just roll a d10 and add it to whatever my ability check or saving throw was.
All right,
Go
so
ahead and roll that d10.
Yeah.
Which was a 2, making the new total 10.
yeah, that's not enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how deep they are. They are 20 feet deep. And how many open up? 2 of them open up. All right, so you fall 20 feet. You and the other Spellbreaker, which is 4d6.
Okay.
Where did I put those
You
green
throw
dice?
or I?
I throw.
Okay.
Let me just grab this other d6. And this is for the both of you. Well, this is for everybody who failed it, which would be Cornelius and the Spellbreaker and Nervek. That is 15 points bludgeoning. So as the ground begins to shake and rumble, you watch and turn towards Mira Lee, who has tears streaming down the sides of her face, and you can see what look like vines of green energy wrapping around her throat and rising up, almost cresting, going up her cheeks, up to her eyes, and they begin to glow with this bright green color. And as she raises her arms up with this tension as if lifting a heavy boulder, the ground begins to rip and tear asunder, opening fissures underneath Cornelius, Nervek, the Spellbreaker, and Sterark. But Sterark, you rush forward and grab Thamor before he falls into a fissure and pull him off to the side with your dexterity aiding you as everybody else falls into the pits. Up next is Shadris. Shadris' only target that he can see is Raldath, so he's going to take his 2 shots. One of them hits, but he doesn't get sneak attack because nobody else is near him right now. So that's going to be 10 points piercing to him. All right. Up next is the Spellbreaker. He's kind of trapped down there. He's gonna... You guys can't see what he does, so I'm not going to describe it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to come to the top of the round with Nervek.
What the heck am I looking at?
You are in a chasm. And as the fissure opens up, you begin to fall. And you hit the ground, and the ground indents beneath you. I need you to make another dex save.
Okay. Total of 18.
Okay, you grab onto one of the walls, but you watch as more dirt falls into what looks like a tunnel underneath the ground. About 20 feet deep, leaving this sort of hole. But you think nothing of it and grab onto the side and begin to climb out of the hole. And with your movement, you can get out.
Okay, I'll...
Make an athletics check for me really quick, though.
Yeah, you bet.
Just to see how much movement you have left afterwards.
Total is 23.
Totally fine. So you pull yourself out of the hole, and as you're pulling yourself up across the top, you watch as Raldath, with an arrow in his shoulder, reaches down, holding both of his swords with one hand, and reaches down to give you a helping hand up.
I'll take it.
And he pulls you out, surprisingly stronger than his frame would suggest. And helps you pull out, and he grabs both the swords and is ready to get back into the action.
Okay. What's the layout like? Who's closest to me and all that good stuff?
You see the Sterark-looking figure standing over the one that had fallen to Raldath's strike, and you can see you're basically on a thin line of land between two fissures. And looking down into the other fissure, you can see what looks like Cornelius down in the fissure below about 20 feet, and you don't see the other Spellbreaker anywhere.
Do I see either the archers?
There's
the enemy.
There's you see the enemy who was casting the spell, but she's out of reach from your movement.
And the Tabaxi?
He's up like 40 feet in the trees.
40 feet?
Yeah.
All right.
You do have options to hit him.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to weigh the odds here.
And the other enemy is 50 feet away.
Okay. How far is Sterark? Or the Sterark-looking figure?
About 15 feet away. You could get there with your movement.
Okay. Would I have, if I were to do something here, is he pretty engrossed in his task there, or is he alert looking?
He's alert. It's the middle of combat.
Yeah, I was just curious with the person getting knocked out in that. I'll go ahead and fire 2 Eldritch Blasts at the figure in the trees.
All right.
Tabaxi.
Go ahead.
I need to actually look at what the heck I had to this. I don't think I've shot an Eldritch Blast the whole time I've played.
Charisma mod and
Proficiency?
and proficiency, yeah.
Okay, the first comes out to a grand total of 12.
Does not
With
hit.
The second at that would be 17.
17 does not hit either. This figure is very dexterous, and as you raise up your mace, a sort of bolt of swirling black energy, sort of with arcing ebon flames coming off of it. 2 bolts fire off and fly at where you thought he was, but he easily leaps from one branch to the other and dodges both of your shots.
Okay.
Alrighty, and then with that, it is Sterak's turn.
I'm gonna look toward Shadris and I'm gonna say, "Grab Miralee! We need to go now!"
You hear a voice on the wind once again. Ooh, we can go, we just need time.
I can make time.
Miralee, get ready to transport.
She's out cold.
And you watch as her body is now asleep, or rather looking asleep, not quite unconscious, but just not awake. Like, not in pain, but just still and not moving. Understood. What else are you gonna do?
I'm gonna see about picking up Thumor.
Make an athletics check.
Wait, if I bardic inspiration myself, do I get added to it? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was just making sure.
Well, let me double check. Make the athletics check first. Actually, you cannot bardic inspiration yourself.
That's a 12.
Are you proficient with athletics?
I am not.
Well, then you get half your proficiency bonus added to that, which I
Yeah,
think it
Jack
already
of all trades?
does.
Yeah, it's already done.
Well, yeah, you struggle a little bit because Thamor is a rather heavy gentleman, but you lift him up. It's gonna be Raldeth's turn now, actually. And wait, did I skip Cornelius?
You might have.
You did.
I did. Okay, then you go ahead and take your turn early then. My bad.
So what I'm going to do as I'm falling
Yeah.
is going to stop falling.
Okay.
I'm going to use an action and activate my Radiant Soul ability.
Okay.
You can use an action to unleash divine energy within yourself, causing your eyes to glimmer and 2 luminous and corporeal rings to sprout from your back.
So, what else are you gonna do? So I can
So I'm
describe
gonna
it all
use
in
my
one
action.
fell swoop.
What I'm going to do is that I'm going to basically let out a roar,
Okay.
sprout these feathering wings from my back, fly out of the tremor that I was falling through, and as I crest the opening, as I'm looking across the what has transpired here, I'm actually going to use my bonus action for Mass Healing Word on my allies.
All right.
And everyone gets 6 hit points.
6 hit points. That is enough to wake up Miralee, but not the more.
So that was what? That's 20 to get out of the tremor.
Yes.
And Sterark is helping Thamor.
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna angle my flight towards Miralee then.
And you'll dash over towards her.
Well, I'm using my 30 feet to get towards her.
Yeah.
And then as I was cresting, I used my bonus action.
Yeah. So, well, now it's your turn because I accidentally skipped you. So now it's your turn again. That's what you would have done on your turn before. That's what I mean.
And I'm going to. So she's conscious but still kind of laying down.
Yes.
I'm going to try to swoop by her and help her up.
Yep. So you extend a
Grab
hand
her out of
down, and she looks up with your angelic wings behind you.
Well, mostly just kind of grabbing her as I go, more than anything. But
You're gonna drag her.
Allow me to explain, please. So you extend an arm down as you're flying, rushing forward, as Miralee is coming to consciousness after you spouting your mass healing word. These almost like tendrils of light begin to emanate out from your body as you speak in Celestial. And these tendrils begin to fly to each of your allies, healing them and sealing some of their wounds. And as Miralee is beginning to pick herself up, you extend an arm down as you're flying by, and this almost slow motion shot happens, and she reaches up and grabs your hand, and you grab her and continue flying.
As we're flying off, I'm actually going to spit out a regular healing word towards Thamar, because you said he wasn't conscious yet?
He was not conscious yet.
Alright, I'm going to use another third level slot for that.
Okay. So go ahead and throw that.
That was 3d4 plus mod?
Yes.
And Thamor gets 10.
Alrighty. It's still not up. So what else do you do? How you just take merely as far as you can with your movement?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna try to keep an eye on the battle because I don't want to leave people dying.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to take merely to safety.
So as you fire off another healing word, you watch as it goes and does its work, but it still isn't enough for Thamor. He's still not moving. And then, as I write my mistake, now it goes to Raldath. Raldath is standing basically back to back with you, Nervek, and he says, "What do I do? What do I do? What's the plan?"
Oh, take him. That one there.
Ooh.
I'm gonna point at the Sterak-looking figure.
What about the other one?
He's down. Don't worry about him.
Okay.
I'll be right behind you.
And he rushes forward with extreme speed, blinding speed, as he is still affected by the haste spell. And he's going to run up to you, Sterak, as you're carrying Thamor.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to say for the purposes of this, since you're carrying Thamor,
Yeah, advantage.
I'm not going to give him advantage, I'm just going to lower your AC, because it's harder for you to move. I'm going to lower your AC by 5.
Okay.
So he's going to take his first 2 attacks. That is going to be a 22 and a 12.
Yeah.
Both hit.
Those both hit.
All right, and then because he's hasted, he gets his other attack action, so 2 more. That is going to be an 8 and a 21.
The 8 doesn't hit, the 21 does.
All right, so that's going to be 3 slashes. I need to get my other D8 out. He's expended all of the uses in his magical swords for when he was fighting Thamor, so he doesn't get any of his bonus enchantment damage. That is going to be 13 and 5, followed by another 7, all slashing. So 1, 2, 3, and then you barely manage to move out of the way of the 4th as they all slice and tear into you. All right, up next is the spell flingers, but the only target they have is Sterak, because everybody else is kind of gone. So here come 2 shots because they're using something, each of them. That is going to be a 13. Oh, sorry, not a 13. An 11 and a 10.
They don't hit.
So both of them fly above your head, and as you watch them fly above your head, you saw that both of them were burning with a sparking energy, with sparks flying off of them. Nervek, you recognize that as not a good thing. Make boom boom. But they fly over your head, and they land and hit a tree with 2 large explosions, sending bark splintering out everywhere. The other Spellbreaker rises up out of the hole. He cast Fly on himself last turn, and flies towards you, Nervek. Awaiting orders.
Take him down. Pointing at the Sterak-looking figure with the guy on his back.
All right.
Or slung over the shoulder. I don't know what it is.
And then with that, it's going to come back to Mira Lee, and you're going to hear Shadris's voice. Sterak, touch the tree nearest you.
I'll do so.
And there's a tree that you're basically pressed up against, and you all watch as the three of you begin to converge towards the Sterak-looking figure. He begins to meld into the tree almost as if it's water, taking the figure with him, and they disappear. Nervek! I did it! I did it! I took one down! You see that?
You did good, kid. Yeah. I'll go ahead and pat him on the back and then look at the rest of the men and women to make sure no one's like severely injured.
So as you're taking inventory, that was an accident. As you're taking inventory on what's going on, each of you, Sterak and Thamor carrying him, you come out of a different tree, and you see Miralee there and Cornelius there, but Shadris isn't anywhere to be seen.
But I'll immediately start curing Thamor.
We're both gonna cure wounds him.
I'm gonna go ahead and say now for both of you to make either a medicine or arcana check.
Both of us?
Either of you can choose which check you want to make. But each of you are going to make a check.
I'm gonna do an arcana check.
I'm better with medicine.
Okay, make your rolls.
$21 on arcana.
11 on medicine.
It seems like simple slashing going into his body and easily repairable, but Sterak, you're looking at him and his wounds are festering with a necrotic type of magic. Unless you have Dispel Magic, he can't be healed. Your healing words before were doing nothing for him. Whatever enchantment was on those blades was sinister.
I'm gonna look at Miralee and say, "Can you dispel magic?"
She's shaking with a horrific look on her face and just silently, with tears streaming down her eyes. Oh, no.
Miralee, focus!
I
Can you dispel magic?
I can't do anything.
I can dispel magic.
Can you dispel?
I can.
Do they have to know what magic is affecting them to dispel it?
He just has to cast Dispel Magic, and if it's of level or below, it's instantly dispelled. But if it's higher, there's a roll involved.
Dispel magic. There's necrotic damage preventing healing. Necrotic aura preventing the sealing of his wounds.
Well, I'll try.
What level are you going to cast Dispel Magic?
Second level.
I'm going to need you to roll a d20.
Wait, can I bardic inspiration him?
Not for this, no. It's not an ability check or saving throw.
Am I adding my caster mod to it?
No, it's just a straight roll, I think. We just double check on that before you do so.
It's too late. He roll.
Alright. Spell Magic. DC equals 10 plus the spell's level.
Well, I rolled a 10. If we're adding mod, that's 14.
No, you don't add mod. Wait. Hold on. For each 4th level or higher. 14?
If I'm adding my
You're adding
mod.
your spellcasting ability, yes. So you add your wisdom mod.
That's plus 4, so 14.
You are able to partially dispel the magic. It's not completely gone, as the sinister nature of the spell does not only lay a magical a magical and sort of damage against them, an aura, but it also curses them. So he's able to be healed, but he is locked to unconsciousness until he can get better treatment.
And I'm guessing I'm the only one that can see this.
Yeah. You're the only person who recognizes this with Arcana. Those swords, whatever was on them, was evil. And made in such a way that they're almost intended to kill their target without heavy help to prevent it.
But is he's locked unconscious, but is he, for the most part, safe for now?
Yes, he is stabilized.
Well, now it's just a matter if I know that information.
You only partially got rid of it. We're gonna have to look for someone who can dispel it further. Merely, he's gonna be okay for now. Compose yourself.
She's weeping. She's not listening to anybody anymore. Shadris is still nowhere around. And you hear Shadris's voice on the wind. 1 for 1. And you hear 2 arrows fly through the trees. You watch as you're taking inventory of what's going on, and you're getting a bearing. Everybody seems fine. You're sort of regrouping and getting everything together, and 2 shots fire out from the trees.
Nice.
Out towards Raldath. A natural 20 and a 12. It lands square in his back, and he's looking at you with this sort of cheery demeanor, very proud of himself, and then as he's looking at you, the smile on his face sort of begins to drop, and it goes down into this look. And he falls forward towards you, and you grab him, and you see the arrow in his back, solidly made of wood. And you look up in the direction, and you see the panther-like tabaxi for a moment before it vanishes into the trees further away.
I'll immediately shout out, any of you healers?
They all shake their heads.
I'm gonna rummage through my pack. I have a restoration potion. I don't think I was ever told what D to put by it.
It was gotten from Millikers, right?
Yes.
Well, it was a smaller vial. It's a D4.
Okay, well, I'll throw it. As I pour it into his mouth. 2 points.
Well, 2 plus 2, because it's 1d4. It's 1d4.
Oh, okay.
Actually, 1d4 plus 4. My bad. Okay. 6. You pour it in, and he starts to come back up, and he looks up at you, and with like a sort of weak smile, he sort of, and he falls unconscious, but he's stabilized.
Okay, I'm gonna pick him up. If you want me to make athletics, I'll chuck it.
He's light enough.
All right. Any of you have anything for this wound? I mean, anything. Healing berries. I don't give a shit.
Nothing that we have on us. We should get back immediately.
Yeah. Let's beat feet. Come on. And I'm gonna be holding him, making sure that I'm not putting pressure anywhere where that arrow is, not pulling it out for fear of causing. Actually, can I medicine check him just to see what I think the best idea would be?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. 21.
You didn't realize this at first, but the arrow was poisoned.
Oh, jeez. I'm gonna pull it out now.
You pull it out, but the situation is more dire. You need to pick up the pace.
Yeah, let's haul.
And all of you begin to run as quickly as possible back towards Fort Alpha. So, everybody is recovering from what's been going on, and you watch as Shadris leaps down from one of the trees after saying what he had said, and then he looks down at the moor and places a hand upon him. Rest easy now, friend. Soon, we will see each other. And
What?
he grabs
Okay,
Thamor
Shadris.
and puts him on his shoulder, and then looks towards Mirali, who's still crying, and puts a hand on her shoulder. We will make it through this, Mirali. He is okay. And the words calm her. And she looks up, and she looks at everybody, and wipes her face with her robe, kind of grabbing at where one of those arrows struck her on the shoulder. She's not doing too hot either. We need to go.
Agreed. Now let's go before they catch up.
You think they're coming for us?
I'm not sure, but it's better to be safe.
Shadris, did you see that one of them might have been coming this way?
No.
Or are you sure they're...
They were running. If they want to save their friend, they will leave. And he taps his side, and you see a small pouch of venom. They will need to be fast.
Agreed. Let's go.
And merely stands
I'll
up.
look at Mirali.
Okay.
I'll do what I can for him.
And she turns towards the tree that she's next to and puts her hand against it, and those same vines come up to her neck. Can only do this once more. You must carry me afterwards. I will not be awake. This is powerful magic, and I can only do it one more time. And she presses against it, and it begins to tear open a walkway inside to the main outlet in Fort Triad. And you can see the interior of Fort Triad, and you make your way through.
And as she does that, does she fall unconscious?
And as soon as the doorway is completely opened, her body begins to crumple towards the ground.
I'll grab her.
And you catch her and hold on to her. And as you're making your way through, Shadris speaks. Before we go, Sterark, you said the name of that man. Do you know him?
I do.
I don't know if he was a friend of yours before you entered the wood, but now he is an enemy of mine.
I understand war.
He is an
This is a
enemy
side we need to fight.
of the pack, and the pack never forgets. And he steps through, carrying Thamor. And
we'll talk about this soon, Sterark. And I'll start carrying Mirali through.
And you all make your way through. And that'll be the end of the Wood Elven side. As you make your way through the wood, you hear Raldath's voice sort of crackly on your shoulder. Nervek, I did it. I got one.
You did good, kid. You did good.
I got
Still-
one. Nervek. I got
That's
one.
right. Hey, keep talking to me, man.
His consciousness starting to fade. You're
Don't go
running.
to sleep, man.
You're running. And the haste wears off. He falls completely still,
Mhm.
extremely exhausted. And for a moment, it seems almost like death, but then you feel him breathing again.
And about how far out are we at this point?
You're almost there.
All right, we're gonna keep just going as quick as we can, sprinting if we can.
The entrance to the small outpost of Fort Alpha is within sight.
I'm gonna start yelling for a healer.
Nervek.
Yeah, I'm here.
War is awful.
Ain't nothing pretty about it, kid.
I do good.
You did good, kid.
He kind of reaches down towards his attachment and looks at it. And he presses his hand against your back. I wonder what life on the outside is like. Tell me more about it, Nervek.
I will, kid, once we get back.
You promised that we would
We will.
talk more. And he passes on your shoulder. The poison took him.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
All right.
We'd like to thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you in the next episode. From everybody here at D&D Universe, we'll see you next time.